Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
So good morning, everyone. Welcome to your 60-minute gentle hatha. And we will begin lying down on our mats if you're already there. No need to change position or just making any final adjustments. If it calls and feels good to give a little wiggle, create a little more space, maybe even softening down through the eyes if they've been open. Let's begin by just drawing a nice long, slow breath in through the nose. And either a big exhale or a double exhale through the mouth. Maybe one or two more like that, big breaths in. And tension relieving breaths out. As those eyes soften and any areas of tension begin to progressively relax and arrive in the space and on your mat. Maybe just starting to follow the rhythm of your breath without changing anything right away. Not trying to resist anything, just coming into more of that observatory state. Just taking a few more easy, deep, full rounds of breath in and out here. And then let's draw another tension relieving breath. So now as we inhale, feel the upper chest, the mid chest, and the abdomen expand. And then let it go in your own way. Let's just begin by taking gentle fists, squeezing the fingers in, and then splaying the fingers wide and just opening up between the palms and the fingers. Maybe you focus just on the hands, or you start to do the same with the feet, curling the toes in, maybe flexing the heels, and then pointing the toes and opening them up. And you might start to add more movement into the wrists, into the ankles. So just starting to explore with these smaller joints. Nice and gentle, not forcing any movement here. And reversing. And then maybe starting to stretch the arms up overhead and gently draw the navel towards the spine, maybe flexing through the heels, pointing through the toes. So you might like to zip the legs right in together, maybe come to more of that hip distance apart. And maybe the hands make contact bind. Maybe the fingers just reach over the shoulders. We can wiggle those shoulders down. Press the lumbar spine into the mat and find length. So we point through the toes and reach through the fingers. And then maybe flexing through the heels. They might even pop away gently from the mat. Good, so we're just allowing the ribs to be heavy on the back of the body. And then let's come into that banana shape, walking the heels to the bottom right corner of the mat, adjusting the shoulders, head, arms to the upper right corner, and then just wiggle those shoulders back down, even though the left arm might be reaching a little further away. We might take the left wrist into the right hand or cross the left ankle over the right and just find a comfortable position for the head and neck here. Whatever feels organic, maybe it drops to the right and we feel that space being created through the left side of the body as well as a gentle opening through the left side of the neck. Maybe just closing back down through the eyes and softening any areas of tension. Good. After your next exhale, we'll begin to come back to center, maybe a middle center stretch, and then we'll start to position ourselves over to the left corners of the mat, maybe walking the heels first, and then starting to adjust the arms, head, and shoulders. Again, just wiggle the shoulders down so even though we're finding space, we're not forcing that. We're allowing there to be lots of space as well between the ears and the shoulders. Taking the binds if they feel good in your body. Otherwise, you can just relax through the legs and hands. They don't need to be connected. And again, maybe the chin just falls to the left now here. Just taking some easy full breaths through that right side of the body. Relax through the eyes, the jaw, and the face. After an exhale, starting to come back to center. Maybe reaching long once again in your own way, taking another full breath in and full breath out. Good. We're going to draw a bend into the knees from here. So just making any adjustments through the low back and the pelvis. And then we're going to draw the right knee into chest. So you're going to work at extending that left leg, or you can maintain a bend in the knee, whatever feels good in your body here. The left hand might release to take the left hip just to ground down through that left side of the body. And we'll start with just little circles through the right knee and hip. So at first you might kind of notice the pelvis kind of rocking, and then let's start to fine tune this movement to stay a little more anchored through that left side. So maybe if the knees bend, it drops out to the left slightly. Maybe if the leg is extended, we just flex through that heel with the softness to the knee to help stabilize and allow, again, for more controlled movement. So maybe the circles are a little smaller. And try not to move the knee and hip with the hand. Just allow the arm to support it or even release it down to the side if you want a little more challenge. We might not realize how much we're controlling that movement with the upper body. And then we'll reverse. Slowing it down. Good, and then we'll take the right hand back to the knee if it's relaxing down. Just squeeze the knee in on an exhale and then just allow it to drop gently out to the right. Try to ground through those shoulders, neck is long, face is relaxed. Nice deep breaths. Good, another inhale. And we'll use our exhale to keep that knee squeezed in if you can. Cross it through the midline and then switch arms to take the left hand to the outside of the right knee and gently draw that right knee over to the left. The right arm might extend out just to help weigh the shoulder down. Maybe just squeeze that right thigh in towards the abdomen and then let it push away. And just add little movements here, pulling in, letting the leg fall away. Maybe there's little circular motions here. At any point in time, you can just find stillness and land in this pose, or you can continue with little movements. Good, and then come to a little more stillness with that left hand still anchoring the right knee down. And we're going to start to reach that right arm from the right up overhead. And then just let the body kind of roll to that left side as we sweep that arm into some circles. So just kind of let the body rock, finding your range of motion. Again, just slowing your movement down if you need that reminder. And then whenever it feels right, reversing direction. Good, one more circle, and then we're going to land with that right arm extended out from the shoulder to the right and drop back into that twist. And just notice any differences. Maybe you feel like more space has been created. If you're clenching through either hip or glute, just relax. Heavy in the body for 2 deep rounds, in and out. Good, and then we'll slowly bring the head back to center. Maybe the left hand stays at the right knee as we roll to the back body. And we'll just give that right knee another little squeeze in before switching sides. Releasing the right foot down, adjusting ourselves back to the middle of the mat. Drawing the left knee in, maybe extending or keeping a bend in the right knee. Good, we might release the right hand to the right hip and just begin with some little circles here. And if you notice the pelvis and the hips kind of rocking, that's okay. Maybe that's just what feels better for you today, or maybe you want to just start to anchor down a little heavier through that right side of the body and come into some more controlled movement. Slowing it down, maybe the circles become a little smaller to maintain that control. And then reversing. Good. And then taking the left hand to the left knee, still anchored through the right side, and we'll just peel that knee and hip open for a couple rounds of breath. A final big breath in. And then as we exhale, switching to take the right hand to the left knee and crossing it over the body. Laying the left arm down out to the left, maybe readjusting the head and neck. And again, maybe we just kind of squeeze that thigh in and then release it away. Noticing there might not be the need for larger movements, just little small movements can make a big difference in different sensations through the outer left hip and glute. And you can come to stillness anytime, or maybe there's a little rock from side to side. And then if you want to add a little warmth through the shoulder, we can start to reach that left arm up, sweep it overhead and over to the right. Maybe the body just kind of rocks, finding your range of motion through the left shoulder and arm. And when it feels right, reversing that. Good. And then after one more circle here, just let that left arm lay out to the left. Maybe head drops back to the left and just relax fully through the body. And then we'll let the head come back to center. Maybe squeeze that left knee in as we roll back onto the back body. And then let's allow the right knee to come to a bend, just transitioning in your own way to bring both knees into the chest. The knees can be together or maybe separate, and just exploring some movement here, releasing tension through the hips and creating more space as we massage out through the low back. Just reversing any movement you take. And then if you like, come to center and just give yourself a little squeeze, maybe just exhaling to squeeze the thighs in, inhaling to push the knees away, or you can continue to squeeze and draw the nose to knee. So whatever variation you'd like to take here, maybe it's something completely different. And then slowly releasing down if the head is lifted, and then the feet reconnecting to the mat. Maybe shifting the hips to one edge of the mat and falling into a side lying position on one side. Just softening in for a couple of rounds of breath. Pressing that upper hand into the mat. We're going to transition up into a kneeling position. So you might add an extra fold of your mat just to provide a little extra cushioning here, and socks, of course, if they're still on, you might want a little more grip. You can decide. Good, so we're lifting the hips over the knees. Okay, so check in again. If you need that extra cushioning, go ahead and provide it for yourself. So hands on hips, and just notice if the abdomen's soft, try to engage it. So we're pulling the low belly in, the ribs are tucked in. Give it that little wiggle just to soften. I'll attempt at mirroring today. We're going to extend the right leg out to the right. So the toes might just slightly point out, but the ankle and heel is in alignment with that hip if possible, a little softness to the knee. We can rest the right hand on the right thigh. Inhale, sweep the left arm up overhead, and exhale, soften the shoulder down. Good, so just make sure we're not pushing through the left side of the rib cage through that engagement. The shoulders are still stacked over the hips. Take a nice big breath in. And as we exhale, we'll lean to the right. So again, just soft through that right knee, maybe lifting the chin to look under that left arm, but soften the shoulders down. Good, so just check in with the hips. You can bring the right hand to the front of the body there if it's helpful, making sure the tail's not pushing back, the pelvis is neutral, and those hips are still square to the top edge of the mat. Good. Maybe inhale, lifting slightly away from that right leg. Exhale, deepening the stretch. On our next inhale, we'll float that left arm and head back up. And as we exhale, look down to the left and release that left hand down. Let the right leg slide in as we stack hip over hip, and just roll that left hip under the right, and maybe extend the right arm to the sky. So the gaze can follow, reaching towards the fingertips. Maybe the eyes are closed, or the head could stay more neutral, whatever feels good for you here. Good. Let's float that right arm beyond the crown if you have that range of motion. And maybe start to just kind of slightly roll the chest towards the sky. So you could bend that right elbow, bring it in behind the head to support if the neck's tiring, and just feel that nice stretch down through the right hip. Good. A final option, that grounded arm, elbow nice and soft as well. Okay, so claw those fingers into the mat. And next option is to lift the right leg, extending it from the hip and flexing through the heel. So you can curl those left toes first if you want a little more support there, or more challenge, making sure that core is engaged. Like a kneeling half moon pose. We'll take a couple more rounds of breath, no matter if the leg's lifted or not. And one more inhale. Use our exhale to float the right leg down. Bring the head back to a neutral position. Good. Send the right arm back up to the sky, and then float the hand to the hip. And just soften through the right knee. Maybe walk those left hands in, and we'll come on back up. So take your time. If you need to come in a different way, go ahead. Once we're on the knees again, roll out through the shoulders, maybe roll out through the hips, and just reverse. Good. And we'll move to the other side. So now grounding into the right knee, we'll extend the left leg out to the left, just not forcing the toes in any direction, whatever feels best. The left hand resting on the left thigh, and we'll inhale, float that right arm up. Exhale, turn the pinky in and soften the shoulder down. So next inhale, we'll engage the core, ribs tucked in, and exhale, begin to lean to the left. Again, the chin stays slightly tucked as we might take our gaze underneath that arm. Again, you can curl the right toes for more stability, and maybe we just slightly flow with breath, making sure we don't go beyond our edge. You might bend the elbow and open up a little more, and just whatever feels good here. On your next inhale, floating the right arm and head back up. Exhale, we can look over to the right, plant that palm down, and just feel that left leg slide in. Again, make extra padding if needed here. We'll start to open up now through that left side of the body. Maybe at first just reaching the left arm to the sky as we allow the left hip to stack over the right. Maybe we reach beyond the crown on our next inhale, just lifting through that left hip, that left arm, I should say, and maybe bending the elbow and just lifting the chest slightly higher to the sky. So that grounded elbow is soft. Nice deep breaths. Good. You can hold the head with that left arm if it's helpful. And the next option is to curl those right toes for more stability. Either or, maybe lifting that left foot for kneeling half moon, just flexing through the heel. So making sure you're not holding the breath as you're concentrating, keeping the breath flowing, the core engaged. Good. One more big breath in. Exhale, lowering the left leg down. Extending through the left arm, floating it to the sky, and then dropping the hand to the hip as we bring the head into a more neutral position. Can we just soften the left side? We can kind of bring our body down to crawl over, but we're going to come back to where we started in that kneeling position with the hips over the knees. Hands to hips, nice and soft through the shoulders, and taking some circles through the hips. Roll out through the shoulders if needed, maybe one at a time or maybe both, and then reverse. Good, maybe you keep that fold of the mat. If it feels good, we'll just release down to the knees and start to bring them nice and wide. Place the palms down under the shoulders, tent through the fingers, helping to take some tension off the wrists. And just let the hips drop towards the heels. We're going to inhale to lengthen tail to crown and just slightly lift through the chest and the chin. And then as we exhale, squeeze the navel towards the spine as we very slowly round, curling the tail forward. And just moving through a couple kneeling cat and cows. Feeling that stretch through the quadriceps as we create space through the spine. Alternating that opening through the front of the body. And the next time you curl the chin towards the chest, maybe just draw little half circles with the chin and the head, dropping to chest, rolling to one shoulder and the other. Let's do that one more time on either side. And then once the chin comes back to the chest, we'll lift the gaze so the head's more neutral. adjust through those legs, and we'll move into a child's pose. So maybe just walking the hands forward, sliding them forward. Maybe you like to bend the elbows and just allow the head to stack on those hands, or maybe you're using a prop, a bolster, something soft under the head. Then again, make this your own expression of child's pose. It's going to be unique from everyone else's, depending on how you feel in this moment in your practice today. Maybe there's little movements. Maybe we're just finding a little more stillness and focusing on nice, easy breaths in and complete breaths out, allowing those exhales to continue to carry tension away from your body. And just noticing if you have a tendency to stay open through the eyes here. If so, just softening and relaxing the muscles of the eyes. Are you feeling rigid any areas of the body where the breath could reach? And just allowing for a little more flow in that breath. Good. 2 more breaths in and out here. At the end of your next exhale, we'll start to peel the head away from the mat if you're ready, and place those palms back to where we started before drawing the knees in. Again, you can keep your mat folded as we're going to stay in a kneeling position, and we'll start to get into our hamstrings a little bit. So we're going to reach for one of our blocks. We'll stay grounded through the left leg and extend the right leg out, bringing the block underneath the glute. The right glute. Okay, we're going to sit up nice and tall, add a little flexion through that right heel, and maintain a softness to that knee. We can keep the arms down and just walk forward, or we can float them up to the sky as we breathe in, reaching up. And then as we exhale, that knee might need to soften even more before bringing the hands down. We'll just try to maintain a long spine and then start to exhale to fold forward. Again, you can add little movements here, or you can stay a little more still, whatever feels good for you. Maybe rocking from side to side, or inhaling to lift and lengthen, exhaling to soften into that fold. Good. You can stay here if you like, or you can begin to walk the hands forward as we plant that right foot down, stacking the hands on either side of the right foot, curling through the left and lifting the left knee, starting to extend the front leg and maintaining that fold over. So just making sure the knee doesn't come forward past the ankle, maybe kind of drawing that more lunge into the front knee, releasing the back thigh further towards the mat, and then extending the front leg as the nose draws towards the shin. Okay, if you feel the right hip jutting forward, try to draw it slightly back again to square those hips. Good, and then maybe staying in that hamstring stretch with still a micro bend in the right knee and just dropping into more of a fold. I'm going to give you one more option if you're feeling like you want a little extra challenge today for balance. Otherwise, you can stay here in this intense hamstring stretch, or you can drop down to where we began. Okay, if you're up for the challenge and you're ready, we'll start to soften a little more through the right knee as we come onto the toes of the back foot, and then maybe find our balance to lift the left leg away from the mat. And you can either just send the sole of the left foot to the back wall, or you can drop more into a standing needle. Okay, so lots of options. Do what feels right for you, what you can today, what you want to today. Take a few rounds of breath wherever you are. Good. If that back leg's lifted, we'll deepen the front knee and start to release the toes down, gently releasing the left knee, and come back to where we started. Walk the hands back, maybe the hip lowers back, we uncurl the left toes, and just sink back gently into that forward fold. Good. One more inhale and exhale. And very slowly rise up. Take a moment if it's needed. And then we'll take our time to switch legs. So we'll start to tuck the right lower leg under the heel, bring our block over to the left side, placing it underneath the left sit bone, extending through the left leg, adding a little flexion through the heel with a soft knee. Okay, maybe we take our time today. Maybe we just pause here to flex and extend. Maybe it feels good just to pause for a few rounds of breath and reground and center ourselves between sides. So just remembering to honor how you feel in each moment of your practice, just reassessing what it is that you need to serve you best. And if you like, we'll inhale, float the arms up, that low belly drawn in, and we can exhale, bending the knee even deeper to start to bow over the leg. Again, maybe there's little movements, just adding that little flexion through the left heel to protect the knee. Maybe this feels especially nice today and it's where you stay. Taking another big breath in and out, and either staying here or beginning to walk the hands forward as we plant the right foot down. We might have to wiggle heel toe, sorry, left, wiggle that foot a little closer to the top edge of the mat. Good, and you might even just stay in that low lunge, curling the right toes if you like, lifting that knee, and just starting to stretch out a little more through the left hamstring, maybe with a little bit of a flow. Maybe just pausing because it feels good. And then only if you want the challenge, grounding into that left foot at the top of the mat and starting to lift the right leg, flexing through the heel, the hips still square, softness to both knees. Maybe walking the hands back to frame that front foot, moving into a standing split. So let go of the full expression of what the pose is supposed to look like and enjoy the experience in your body of challenging where you want to be challenged, being more passive in your holds and stretches where you want to be more passive. Slowing your breath wherever you are. And then one more big breath in. Exhale, start to soften that left knee to release the right. Walk the hands back to support. Take as much time as you like. Releasing the right knee down. Walking the hands back to release the left hip down. And then adjusting to find yourself back to where we started, just for a few more rounds of breath. Good. Very slowly beginning to roll the spine up. Taking a moment. And maybe now we'll start to tuck that left leg under, set our block off to the side, maybe unravel through the mat, and find our tabletop. We're going to transition into downward facing dog. So just a nice big stretch through the back of the body from table, curling the toes, pressing our way up through the hips, and just explore pedaling out through the legs, maybe adding that little rock of the head from side to side. Just finding the feet hip distance, the knees soft, the tail lifted, and the head dropping heavy. Take a couple rounds of breath, whether you're moving or still. Good, and then we'll begin to walk the feet towards the hands and the hands towards the feet, finding our way in a forward fold. We could modify by bringing the forearms to the thighs and dropping through the hips a little so it's less for the back body. Or we can just ragdoll, hanging heavy over the legs, adding a little sway. Good, let's start to heel toe the feet even wider. So about the width of the mat, toes still pointing forward. And then as we kind of rock over to the left, bring the hands to follow. Wiggle that right leg out as we squat down into that left hip. Good, so just feeling that nice stretch through the sole of the left foot, maybe extending, pointing through the toes of the right and then flexing through the heel. Maybe you want to come into full malasana. Maybe you just want to stay here. Maybe you want to practice your balance. You could use a block if it's helpful. Just lifting your body to find a little more length and space through the upper body. Moving in and out of this pose as you wish. Or you could practice bringing a hand to the thigh, maybe the second. Knowing the block's right there, the floor is not too far away. Or maybe you find your drishti, something in front of you slightly higher up the wall or window, to bring the hands to the heart. Again, making sure you're breathing. So no matter what, we're creating space in our bodies. We're feeling a stretch. We don't have to find our balance today. It's not the end of the world, but it's kind of fun sometimes to try. Beautiful. Take another breath in your balance if you're there, and then use your exhale to start to lower down. Maybe the hands are just to your block. Maybe you're starting to draw the left leg in and kind of roll over to the right to extend the left leg out. Good, so same thing, maybe just flexing and pointing through the left leg. Maintaining that micro bend in the left leg, maybe you start to bring your block into play to come on up. And again, we're going to feel a nice big stretch through the sole of the right foot here. Maybe you're up for the challenge. As long as nothing's hurting in this variation, maybe we start to bring the hands to the thigh, or maybe finding that drishti, activating the core if it's softened, breathing are all helpful tools for your balancing. So get those in check first. And then maybe add the arms and hands. Good. And then when you're ready, taking a nice big breath in. Using your exhale to begin to transition out. Maybe you keep that block in check close by. And let's scoot that left leg in and find our malasana. So whether it's an active malasana where we're just creating space and movement through the hips, or coming into a foam malasana where we just pause and give our body the opportunity to settle in, just checking in to where there's areas of clenching, holding. And if you are still in your malasana, taking some nice deep breaths, feeling your roots anchor towards the earth, your crown open up to the universal life energy above us and around us. Feeling an opening around your heart. It's 2 or 3 more rounds of breath if you're still in your malasana. If you need to counter in a different way, go ahead. Otherwise, we can tuck the chin and just release the hands down. Adjust the feet to see if we can C-curve the spine and just drop down into the bottom. We'll let the legs come on out. Just do the best you can, whatever that looks like. We're not going to worry about it. Lean back into the hands and just give those hips a little sway from side to side. Good, an option to come down in your own way or use a little more core work, scooting down so the toes reach towards the bottom edge of the mat. The legs can be extended or the knees bent. We're active through the core and then sending the arms forward. Take a nice big breath in. Exhale, begin to roll down. The spine will slightly C-curve, but as long as that core is engaged, to use to help to slowly roll down. Maybe eventually the legs extend. Maybe eventually we just come down a little quicker. We'll take a full lengthening Stretch once we arrive, reaching long but being gentle, adding any movement that feels good again through the wrists and the ankles. Good, and then soften through the elbows, let them drop down to the sides. Take a bend in the knees here, or bring those feet together. Take a big breath in, and as you exhale, just dropping open through the hips into Baddha Konasana. The soles of the feet might make contact in some way, and just adjusting to allow the lumbar spine, the ribs to begin to settle heavy down. Maybe just taking some diaphragmatic breaths here. Hands can come to the abdomen if it's helpful. On our exhales, just imagining those legs falling a little heavier towards the earth. Good. 2 more rounds of breath. And then just start to roll that right knee back to the sky. Maybe the sole of the right foot connects to the inner edge of the left. And then allow the head to fall to the right as we bring the right leg over to meet the left. And it might not, the knees might not touch. Maybe you draw them closer in. Maybe you just kind of allow this to be a more gentle twist. Good. And after an exhale, the head comes back slow and controlled. Bring the right knee back up and then allow it to drop open. And then we'll inhale to reach the left knee up, planting the sole of the foot to the inside of the right, and then exhale to cross that left leg over to the right. Again, maybe it hovers, maybe you weigh it down in some way. Just try to, again, relax through the right hip and glute. Soften in. After your next full exhale, just starting to bring the head back. Maybe you open up one last time through those hips and extend the arms up before sending the legs long, giving a final lengthening stretch. Maybe it's the knees into chest, or maybe you keep that bend in the knees and just add more of a sway through the lower body. Just taking a couple more rounds of breath to welcome in any other movement that you feel you need to release any tension or rebound from any of the poses we've taken today before finding yourself in a comfortable position for your Shavasana. Maybe it feels good to keep the bend in the knees and bring the feet wide, or use your bolster under the knees. Maybe you want to spread out. Coming back to find that surrender. Observe as the body grows heavier and more relaxed. A gentle awareness and introspection to observe and let go. We are meant to find connection with others. Our minds and hearts flourish when we find connection and belonging. It's an amazing thing to find people who share the same interests and insights as we do. It is also necessary to find people who help us grow. Staying isolated keeps us from thriving and sharing our hearts. Think about the people you have a connection with and take some time to give thanks for each of them. A life with connection is sacred. And that's from Emily Silva's 365 Morning Meditations. Just taking a couple more easy rounds of breath, allowing the body to do the work as you observe. Always the option to stay and linger a little longer in this relaxed position and state. If you're ready, just beginning to bring little movements back into your body, starting to wiggle and waken up. And gradually finding your way in that side lying position, whatever side calls to you. Taking a pause, a little breath there too. And assisting yourself in rising up through that upper arm and hand to find yourself back in an upright position. We'll take a moment just to feel again rooted and grounded, centered. Bringing the hands together at the heart and just taking a moment maybe to set an intention for your day. The light within me sees and honors the light within each of you. Namaste.